Hello and welcome back to season 2 of The Starters. I'm Dave, that's Simon and George. How's it going, boys?
Just testing the neck muscles.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah,
Good flexibility there.
very good, very good.
I'm feeling like Tyreek Hill,
Oh, boy.
a little stop with the car type of deal going on. That's how I'm feeling.
Whoa.
Oh, me or you?
That's how I'm feeling. That's it.
Oh, okay, that's how you're feeling. Okay. All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Well, great way to be back right off the bat. Don't forget, please, to follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok, and on YouTube at The Starters 69. You can follow us all individually as well. And don't forget, a new time for Simon and Joey and the boys on TSN 690 on the weekends. It's no longer 7 to 9. It is now 10 to noon. VIP hours. I don't know how they got that.
Executive hours.
Executive hours. When I was doing that, we were slumming it at 7 a.m. and so good job on the time
I
zone.
went and I protested outside like the Air Canada pilots. I said, I'm not coming back at 7 a.m.
Nice. Well, you got it done, and I was listening. 10:35 Habs breakfast. Everything sounds great. So be sure to tune in every Saturday and Sunday there. All right, gentlemen, you guys ready to start season 2?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get
ready as I'm going to be.
Going. Question number 1 brought to you by Billy K's Burgers. I don't know about you guys, but there's a spot here in Vaudreuil that opened up not too long ago. It is absolutely phenomenal. Amazing burgers, amazing poutines. They have all sorts of things on their menu. You can follow them at Billy K's Burgers on Instagram. Absolutely delicious. It's a great burger spot. I'm not joking. Like,
there's also because I'm a sucker for this. If I walk into an establishment and it's on the menu, I always like it as a starter. Start the festivities with a grilled hot dog.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes, love that. Big fan.
Very well. It's a very good spot. Prices are reasonable, and it's just it's high quality.
And I can vouch for the fact that they will deliver late. Because yes, I have done some damage there.
Are you sending one to my house? Is that what you're saying? You're surprising me with
whatever you need. Whatever you need.
I love it. All right. So yeah, make sure to follow them at Billy K's Burgers on Instagram. So guys, week 1 has come and gone. A lot of surprises, to be honest. It was a good, strong week. A lot of close games, and especially involving our teams in particular. Some, I guess you could say, surprises there. So I just want to know, what are your biggest NFL week 1 surprises?
I'm gonna go with how bad the Falcons were at home. Like, I know. Look, we'll see. The Steelers' defense might end up being the best defense in football. We'll just say that. A little bit surprised. I like Kirk Cousins in Washington and Minnesota. Whether Justin Jefferson was there or not, that small sample size, he still moved the sticks. He still put up numbers. He's got the weapons there. I was buying all the hype that the Falcons had this offseason, just week number 1, but a little bit surprised with the result. And also Mr. George Caperis' Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't watch a lot of that game. I was hooked into my game, but just seeing that scoreline come across. Again, the Patriots may end up being an elite defense. That's fine. But Cincinnati at home, I think I saw this incredible stat that globally, 41% of survivor pools were crushed, because 41% of survivor pool players had the Bengals beating the Patriots at home. So I'm going to go with the Falcons and the Bengals as well.
So I'm going to say not surprised at either of those things. If you are a Bengals fan, you do know that they are known for getting out of the gate quite slow. The Patriots were a heavy underdog in that game. However, Joe Burrow coming off major ligament surgery in his throwing arm. There's a lot of kinks there. No excuses, but look, it was a close game. A couple of fumbles near the end zone. That's going to cost you every time. So I'm not really surprised. What the question was, though, what am I surprised about? Well, I think the overall lack of numbers in the passing game. I saw a crazy stat. I think it's the lowest amount of average passing per game in week 1 in the last 25 years, 180 somewhat yards. So that kind of surprised me, because if you look at most teams, and the Cincinnati Bengals are a good example of that, have gone away from the 2 running back system. There's a lot of 1 back sets. a lot of teams throwing the ball, and we just didn't see it in week 1. Not a lot of throws downfield. And the other thing that surprised me, Aaron Rodgers surprised me, because I really thought the Jets would come out and really show something. Aaron Rodgers would show something. And the Jets and Aaron Rodgers laid a big egg, which really worries me, because I don't know how much better a 40-year-old quarterback can get throughout the season. And I don't know, Robert Saleh doesn't look like he's got those troops going. And I think he may not survive. He might be the first guy out of here, because they put up a couple of more stinkers like that. I think that's it. I think they're going to change coaches. So those are the two big surprises for me after week 1.
I thought Rodgers was okay.
No, he was okay. He was okay.
A very good.
But he can't be okay on that team. He's got to be really good.
I know, but first that's the first game in 2 years, right? So
Yeah.
2-year layoff. You're talking about Joe Burrow injury coming off, whatever. But he had a real camp. Aaron Rodgers is 2 years of real football minus 4 plays. But what I found shocking was how Robert Saleh. He's supposed to be, I'm not gonna say defensive guru there, but that's his forte, defense. And I didn't watch the Carolina Panthers play 5 minutes of football last year. But if I did, there's a good chance that they didn't give up scoring drives on 8 consecutive possessions, which that Jets defense did. And that Jets defense on paper is supposed to be very good. Like, giving up points on 8 consecutive possessions, like, dude, your team can suck and still not do it.
Yeah, and I think to your point, when you take into account that he should know that offense. If there's one offense that he should know, it's the San Francisco 49ers, who he, was the defensive coordinator and coached against for every practice for 4 years. So
but I guess that's Shanahan knowing his defense.
Maybe. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's concerning, but definitely Saleh's on the hot seat, and it is scorching hot right now.
All right, week 1 hot seat. I love it. I love the NFL. What a great start to the season so far. All right, we're going to move on to question number 2. We're going to talk some hockey. Brought to you by, of course, Cunningham's Pub, the best chicken wings in all of town. We were just talking off air about how we want to go grab some wings together maybe next week. So be sure to check them out. Cunningham's Pub on Instagram. They do good stuff there. They have all sorts of promotions, and it's just a fun vibe right in the beautiful St. Anne's. You can't go wrong with it. So check them out. All right. So Patrik Laine, right? I think we were one of the first shows or podcasts to talk about it back in the day, the Habs interest in Patrik Laine. And then they finally pulled it off, and they got it for what a lot of people consider a steal. And obviously it's a bit of a gamble, but I want to just, take your temperature and see what is your excitement level on Patrik Laine.
So first thing, I was always a fan of the possibility of acquiring Patrik Laine just because of the size and the skill he brings. The one thing that does annoy me about this trade is that Dave broke it to me. So I'm usually on top of these things, Simon, but for some reason, we got, Habs got Laine, and I'm like, really? Yeah. And he's like, for a second rounder and Jordan Harris. And I'm like, oh, we only gave up a second rounder. And he's like, no. It's the other way around. I was like, wow. Look, I mean, I like everything about it. And the reason I like everything about it is just, I guess I'm almost in love with the possibility of him finding that form of a 40-goal scorer, which the Montreal Canadiens haven't had in 2 decades. So if Patrik Laine and his 6'5" frame, 200 plus pounds, and his ability to score, if it just translates onto the ice for the Montreal Canadiens, this is the biggest move, I would tell you, of the Montreal Canadiens in the last 20 years, if that actually translates. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see who he plays with. I think he can play. He can go directly on a line with Caulfield and Suzuki if they want. They can make a big boy line, maybe with Doc and Slavkovsky. I could see him playing with Anderson. I think those two guys can fit together somehow if Anderson can find his game and maybe move him up the lineup, as crazy as that sounds. But I think there's so many possibilities if he's playing well. Just seeing him on the power play. I mean, when's the last time the Canadiens had a guy that could, put pucks in the net? The possibility of putting pucks in the net. We got to go back to Kovalev. This is exciting stuff. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm ready. And this is the most excited I've been for a Montreal Canadiens season in the last, I don't know, long time. So I'm excited. I'm down for it.
Awesome. Simon?
Yeah, I remember listening to 690 when the deal went down, and Mitch Gallo and John Still were talking about, giving up Jordan Harrison a second for Patrik Laine is a pretty good thing. And they said it a couple of times. And then Lucas Scott jumps in quietly. He's like, like maybe 2-3 minutes after that, because I think the Habs are getting the second round pick. And it turned out that the Habs are getting, and you can make a case, well, we can make a case, but there's a chance going forward that the second round pick turns out to be a better player than Harris. He's a good player. He's a serviceable hockey player. He's going to play, might even pull a Ron Hainsey, might play like 14, 15 years in this league. He can skate, he can play, he can pass, he can shoot, nothing top tier, but quality. But I'm with George here, just to go fanboy. Awesome home run. It cost you nothing. You're not strapped by cap restrictions. You didn't have to send somebody down. You didn't have to put anybody on waivers. You didn't have to package up anything. Like, it cost you nothing. If he absolutely sucks at hockey, you keep him for one more year, and then by next year's trade deadline, somebody's going to give you nothing to just roll the dice on him. There's no harm, no foul here. I guess you're only concerned if you're Kent Hughes is if he turns out to be a 40-goal guy again and he asks for $12-13 million, a lot more than all the other guys on the team do. Problem, maybe a decent problem to have. But no, he's got size. He can score. They're about 65, 70 goals from a playoff spot. That's the goals that they need to acquire. You add Patrik Laine, you add Kirby Dach, you get something out of Gallagher and Anderson again, Dvorak. Hey, man, first things first, maybe you get those 70 goals. Then you'll have to defend a little bit better and all that. But I think it's massive. And I also think just being in that entire week with Sean Campbell, you felt the energy. Like, I'm not the kind of guy to feed off energy and stuff like that, but text messages, phone calls are like, hey, man, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. They did something. They threw the team a bone too, right? Like, it's hard. They're top heavy. And then after that, it was just giant question marks. We'll still see about Kirby Dach. I think he's a good player. He's got to prove that he can stay healthy, and the same for Patrik Laine. But just adding one player, I don't think you're as good as the Florida Panthers. You're not as good as the top tier teams, but damn, you're a lot better than what you were last year. And one path back to a playoff spot for this squad is to be okay on the penalty kill and to be okay on the power play, not just be brutal in both. And I think Patrik Laine can give you an opportunity to be better on the power play. Hey, man, by the time we get to Christmas, he might be on getting more minutes than Cole Caulfield. And that's not a bad thing. You get Cole Caulfield away from Hedman, away from McAvoy, away from Ekblad, away from Morgan Riley, away from the opposition's top defensive pairing, and you put Patrik Laine in it, one of them's going to feed. One of them's going to get a second pairing. One of them's going to get a number 2 and number 3 center. So I just absolutely love the acquisition. If it absolutely blows up in the Canadiens' face, it is still no harm, no foul. So good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even think there is there's no worst case scenario here. I mean, it's just
he sucks. Okay.
To borrow from Mark Bergevin, I mean, he said it about centermen, but these guys don't grow on trees, right? Offensive guys who scored 40 goals, and a lot of people think he tailed off because of the issues in Columbus. But I mean, he was still almost a point a game player. He had injury problems, but he was still almost a point a game player during his time in Columbus. So I mean, just an absolutely amazing deal from the Canadiens perspective.
He has not forgotten how to score.
No, exactly.
No. Maybe you will be sitting here doing the podcast episode 11, talking about how he's a defensive liability. Sure. He when the puck will get on his stick, he'll fire it as good as anybody in the league. Maybe it goes wide more often than not. I don't know, but he still has that ability to score goals. Now, just hopefully you can, he comes through.
All right, so we'll move on to question number 3. We'll stick with the Habs. This one brought to you by EA Fitness, eafitness.inc. It's how Simon turned his golf game around. He got his core. Look at that. Look at those arms. You can get tailored workouts. You can get all sorts of things from EA Fitness. They have some great content on their Instagram, eafitness.inc. Be sure to follow them there, and they have all sorts of promotions and stuff going on at all times. I'm sure.
Also, I just want to mention, Dave, that they're expanding too, right? So if you know about EA Fitness, they have the locale on Samson, and they're keeping that locale and they're double up on size on the locale next to them, so even bigger and better by the time the year is done. Absolutely amazing. So growing business with, a lot of cool trailers and a lot of good content, social media content. So check them out at eafitness.inc. All right, guys. A lot of rookies drawing some interest here from the Habs fan base. You have Laine Hutson, obviously. You have David Reinbacher, obviously. You have Logan Mailloux, obviously. Even on the offensive side, you have a guy like Owen Beck. So I just want to know your thoughts on which rookies will actually make the Habs opening night roster. Habs opening night roster. Yes. Is that you talking about the guys at the 6 defensemen, the 12 forwards, or roster might be a guy that the 13th forward, 7th defenseman? I'll allow the 13th forward and 7th defenseman because I think if any one of those rookies make the team, I don't think they should be in that position, but I'll allow it. I'm big. Being a Laval resident, took in a couple of games last year, a couple of games on the television as well. Probably, the ones obviously in attendance, I watched all of them. The ones on television, I watched part of it. I love what I saw from Logan Mailloux. I just think he's a total package. And I think there's a level that he's going to get to as he gets a little bit more comfortable. He does everything at a higher level, not an elite level, but does everything. I think he can do everything at a very high level. And if you look at the lineup, you can press him in on a third pairing and just allow him to grow there. And the one guy that you can say also for Laine Hutson, but it's Laine Hutson. Do you want him on a third pairing? Are you going to put him out there quarterbacking? And I like what Logan Mailloux did last year. He went to the American Hockey League on many nights. He was not just the best player on the Rocket, he was the best player on the ice. I think there's something to be said about going to the American Hockey League, just brushing up on your game. You saw him last year that the Rocket were down by a goal. He was out there. The Rocket were up by a goal. He was out there closing out the game as well. I like it. Kind of, did his time with the Rocket. I'd like to see him make the next jump. And Laine Hutson, maybe he goes to Laval, and maybe Laine Hutson doesn't have to spend 82 games in Laval. Maybe he's up by the time it is Christmas. But from the opening day roster, Dave, I'm going to go with Logan Mailloux on that blue line. All right, fair enough. George?
I'm going to disagree here. I think Laine Hutson's your guy, just for the fact what the really small sample size we saw got us. I think everybody really excited, and I think having a guy like that you can put on the power play on the first wave, taking a bit of the pressure off Matheson, who he's basically playing the entire 2 minutes on the power play. There's not really another guy that can come in and do that. So I think Laine Hutson becomes almost, indispensable in that type of situation if he can create offense. So although Mailloux probably the most ready guy, I think the skill set need is going to take over there, and it's going to be Laine Hutson. And if I look up front, there's very few spots available, but I think we saw enough of Joshua Roy that I think he's going to earn a spot. I think he's going to be either, a fourth liner that's going to get, his minutes there, or he's going to be that 13th guy that's going to be going up and down from Laval. But I think he'll be there the opening day roster. I don't really see anybody else pushing for a roster spot other than maybe Owen Beck surprises people because he does have, a little bit more offense than the other guys. But I think he needs AHL time. If I had to bet, those would be my two guys. Laine Hutson would be number one, and Joshua Roy would be number two. And I just think Logan Mailloux, no rush. Put him in the minors. Have him come up when somebody goes down. He's your number one guy to come up, and he can be a 3, a 4. But I don't think he can step in and play power play minutes right away. Which is
I'll tell you about Joshua. I never even thought of him because he has to be penciled in to the line. If he doesn't, it's not an epic fail. But if he doesn't make the opening day roster and you put guys ahead of him, I'd be shocked.
Well, he's still a rookie, so we got to pick up.
That's the thing about he can also star at 3-on-3 hockey. It's a way to make a living in this league now too, right?
Yeah, true as well. Very good point.
Get to that spot, he may be able to excel there.
It's fair to have left him off the list because he played. A lot of people will forget that he'll be a rookie, right? Because he's played 23 games with the Habs last year. That's a quarter of a season, but he is still a rookie. So good point, George. Yeah. All right, we'll continue on with hockey here. Question number 4 brought to you by Fresh MTL. Check them out on Instagram at Fresh MTL. They are located at 1164 Autoroute Chamédé, and they have a lot of amazing smoothies. They're a grab and go. They meal prep. They do pretty much everything. I know, Simon, are you still on the what was the one you were getting every morning? The Power Boost or the
Power Booster Easy on the Nuts? I think
Easy
there's
on the nuts.
Easy on the walnuts.
Easy on the walnuts.
I get twice a week. I'm usually working from home, so twice a week I'll go and get the kind of the prefab meals. I had some beef today with some broccoli and George's favorite quinoa.
Oh, quinoa. Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So Max Pacioretty, guys, former Habs captain. Only the second time, I believe, in the history of these two franchises that a Habs captain will go play for the Leafs after being Habs captain. Can you name the first?
Mahovlich.
No, Kirk Muller. Kirk Muller.
Kirk Muller. I wouldn't have got that.
Captain
I wouldn't
Kirk.
have got that. I wouldn't have got that.
And it's never got to see. No, never got to see. No.
Interesting. I can name a few assistants, but I can't.
Played for both. Yeah,
played for both, but he was a captain after playing for the Leafs. So this is the first time, or the second time only.
Well, Plekanec, I believe, did he ever wear the C at any point?
I don't think he was officially a C.
No, but he may have worn the C in a game.
Maybe for a minute or something.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so Max Pacioretty. Look, I'm surprised. I thought the Canadians may spin the tires on this one. Another big dude, right? He doesn't play big, but he's a pretty big player. I think he's 6'3", 6'4". He can put pucks in the net. I think he would have fit probably nicely on a second wave power play and play a third line. He goes to a super talented Toronto Maple Leafs team that's going to use him in the exact same way I just described. He's going to play that second wave power play. He's going to be on that third line. The question with Max is, can he stay healthy? Because it's been pretty rough the last 4 years. But if you look, he's not far off a point of a game player in the last, whatever while he's played. So the production is still there for Max Pacioretty. The question is, can the body still play? And I think that scared off the Montreal Canadiens. And also I think the Montreal Canadiens are looking to develop their younger guys, and on the second wave, go with guys that are maybe a little bit younger and allow them to develop and give the time to Max Pacioretty. So I can't blame the Canadians for it, but I think it would have been a nice little story, right? A redemption story. Everybody loves those. I think it'll work in Toronto if he can stay healthy. He's still a good hockey player. He can still put pucks in the net. I just don't know what's left in the tank. Hopefully he can stay healthy, give him 60, 65 games. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility he scores 25 goals if that happens. But might be very difficult with what we've seen in the sample size of his body and what's left.
Look, you come back from one Achilles. Look, I grew up in a time where Dominic Wilkins and Dan Marino tore their Achilles, and that was the end of their illustrious careers. Literally the end of their careers. Done. And then, Kobe comes along, Terrell Suggs, they start to blow their Achilles, and they come back like 9 or 10 months later. Kevin Durant comes back from that. But there's not a lot of guys that tear their Achilles twice or have 2 tears and come back from that. So that's the thing. Like, I'm with George. If he can stay healthy, he's a big body. He'll find a spot on the power play. I think Max is smart enough to know that the offense doesn't run through him. It doesn't end with him. It's Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. Probably, he might not even be the next guy up. I think it's a perfect fit. I think it's a perfect fit for Max Pacioretty. He's not asked to carry any offensive load, whatever he can contribute. I'm not going to say it's a bonus because, like George, I don't know if 25 would be a great number. If you can get up to 17, 18, because I just don't think there's enough pucks to go around. Like Nylander's got to get his 35, 40. Same thing with Marner, same thing with Tavares, and Matthews has to get his 50, 55. I'm not sure how many more goals are left after that. But for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's perfect. Veteran, not very noisy, and coming in on the cheap. He's made his money. He's just looking to win, kind of like the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think it's a win right across the board. And if it doesn't pan out, he'll be released. He'll be whatever, won't break the bank, and that'll be the end of that. But again, coming off the 2 Achilles is going to be something that is going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they just needed some depth, right? They needed, and they didn't have a lot of money to do it, so they needed to get somebody. So
what's that top six now, right? Is he part of that top six, Dave?
No,
no, not even close. I mean, he's a third, fourth line guy.
I don't think he's a fourth. I think he'll find a spot for him on the third line.
I think he's going to be more a fourth liner that'll play power play minutes. I don't see him getting significant ice time, but I really like it because I think if there's anything left in the tank, Max Pacioretty fits perfect being a depth guy that can score.
And you've seen it with the Leafs before, right? Like their top line is so heavy that you could just slot in anybody there from up and down the lineup, and it'll work out for them. So you could possibly see him there.
Matthews. He's going to go out to Matthews. There's going to be times he's going to go 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, we'll see. I mean, Galchenyuk, when Galchenyuk was there, he carved out a nice little role for himself for however long that lasted. So I mean, it is possible. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So now we'll switch over to question number 5, brought to you by Vivaldi, the best bring-your-own-wine restaurant in all of the West Island. It is absolutely amazing. It's in Pierrefonds. Follow them at Resto Vivaldi. Steve becoming quite the celebrity chef. He's I
see it. He's very comfortable in front of the camera.
Very comfortable. He's talking. He's cooking at the same time. He's
got olive oil in one hand, the pan in the other.
It's very impressive, to be honest. Something I could never do. So, I mean, check them out at Resto Vivaldi. All right. This next question might sound funny, I guess, but the Alouettes are 10-2, and up until last Friday, was it? I believe it was Friday. They were rolling. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Their record in something in their last 19 games was never heard of before in the CFL as of late. So 10-2, they're sitting comfortably in first place in the East, but was a hiccup on Friday against BC. So I just want to know, guys, are the Alouettes the CFL's real best team?
I think right now they are. It'll be interesting. I think I read just before I came on that Tyson Philpott is out for the year. So that came in kind of late. Austin Mack not there as well. Now, they're pretty talented at that wide receiver position. They go pretty deep, but it did start with those two guys, especially when Austin Mack came back. I think they're elite on defense, and they can make stops on defense. They can get the turnovers on defense. Look at the game against the BC Lions. Somehow, some way, they converted 2 touchdowns on 3rd and short. It simply doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. It did happen. I can't see it happening again. So I'll just say they're too good on defense. I think they can make enough plays on offense. I tuned in, believe it or not, to watch the Argonauts versus the Red Blacks last Saturday to just see Kelly play. Just wanted to see what this guy was going to look like, and he was, again, terrible. So until he figures it out and they get something out of the quarterback position in Toronto, I can't put Toronto in the mix. No disrespect to our good friends in Ottawa. I'm not buying it. The Red Blacks just of yet. They may turn the corner. They're playing some pretty good football of late, but still. And then the BC Lions could definitely make a run at it with Nathan Rourke at quarterback. This guy is 2 years removed from being the best player in this league in his MVP season, or most valuable player, whatever it is in the Canadian football.
Most outstanding.
MOP.
MOP. It wasn't close. And he is a difference maker. He can get it. If he gets into the groove between now and the end of the playoffs, you can easily make a case that he's the best player again in the Canadian Football League. It's funny. I stayed up at night to watch his first game against Winnipeg, and he was terrible. Took him a week.
Apologize. You have to apologize.
Yeah, you have to apologize. It took a week for him to figure it out. And watching the Cowboys and the Browns last Sunday at 4:25, I tweeted, I'm like, Deshaun Watson ain't better than Nathan Rourke. No way, not on any planet. So it's funny sometimes how you're dealt these, the hand that he's got to go back to the Canadian Football League and make a living. Not a bad thing, but we all know that most, if not all NFL, all football players' dream is to play in the NFL. But I think he got screwed out of that, especially after watching Deshaun play on Sunday. But keep an eye on the Lions, and they're hosting the Grey Cup this year, so you know that they're going to be all in to try to stack that team between now and the end of the season.
So, terrible take. Deshaun Watson is not better than any quarterback at this point. He's absolutely terrible.
I said no, he's not better.
Yeah, but I mean, he's nobody is like, he's not better than anyone. He's just terrible. He's terrible at football right now. Terrible at life. I don't even know what to say about Deshaun Watson. That being said, I digress. Look, I have a terrible take here. I'm going to call it a terrible take. The BC Lions are the best team in the CFL, and I'll tell you why. You touched on one part. They got Nathan Rourke, who was the most outstanding player 2 years ago, and they got the most outstanding player on defense back as well, Matthew Betts, who flirted with the Montreal Alouettes possibly and ended up going to the BC Lions. You just added superpower on the front and the back, and the BC Lions just beat the Montreal Alouettes, although the Alouettes are missing some players, and even this week, I believe Dequoy is also out for this week's game. So, yeah, they're banged up, but I think I really like Nathan Rourke, and I love Matthew Betts, and I just think when you add two guys who pretty much were on the bubble to NFL rosters, who have already won major hardware here in the CFL, I don't know how do you fight that? Like, yeah, the total, I guess, some of the players could make a difference, but right now, I think they got the best player on offense. They got the best player on defense. It's going to be tough in the playoffs. If I had to put my money on it, BC Lions. Sorry.
Wow, that's heartbreaking. All right, George.
Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. It's not. It's all right.
Don't tell Joey. Don't tell Joey.
All right. So, tune in on Saturday or Sunday for Joey to maybe give a rebuttal to George here for 10
The terrible take.
Joey's going to be doing the show from probably a very lovely hotel room in Calgary. I think he's swiping the TSN 690 gear.
Nice.
And Sean Campbell's going to help him set it up. So he'll be joining us. He'll be in his spot on Saturday, but not on Sunday.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So Joey in his hotel suite on the weekend. So new time. Don't forget 10 to noon on TSN 690 Saturdays and Sundays. And don't forget to listen to us and follow us everywhere at the Starters 690, pretty much everywhere, X, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Send us a comment, answer the questions your own way. We want a lot of engagement this season. That's the whole point. We want to talk with you guys and get you guys to answer the questions too. So thank you guys. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, George. Have a good night. And we'll see you next week for episode 2.
Yes, sir.